So we are in line 55, which is the last line of this lengthy 22-line stanza. So line 55. So it says, he also drove out the nations before them. And so in that A part of 55 there sends us back to Psalm 44. But this time we're looking at line 2 that says, how you drove out the nations with your hand, but them you planted. How you afflicted the peoples and cast them out. And so what happened is God, drove out the heathens or the Gentiles, but he planted his people. All right. So, and that's what, God would do for his people. He's going to sustain them. That's why we're supposed to bloom where we're planted. All right. But he's going to cast out the enemies, those weeds. Okay. And then let's look into the B part of 55, where it says, allotted them an inheritance by survey. So allotted them or given to them an inheritance by survey, or that measuring rod or measuring cord. And so that sends us to Joshua 13:7. You look, we touching all kind of scriptures with this psalm. Joshua 13:7, that says, now therefore divide the land as an inheritance to the 9 tribes and half the tribe of Manasseh. Okay. And then going back to 55, the C part that says, and made the tribes of Israel dwell in their tents. So he drove out the nations before them, allotted them an inheritance by survey, by measuring cord, and made the tribes of Israel dwell in their tents. Moving into our new stanza, which is, it's up there too. It's not as long, but it has about maybe 8 or 9 lines. So it says, yet they tested and provoked the Most High God and did not keep his testimonies, but turned back and acted unfaithfully like their fathers. They were turned aside like a deceitful bow, for they provoked him to anger with their high places and moved him to jealousy with their carved images. When God heard this, he was furious and greatly abhorred Israel, so that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent which he had placed among men, and delivered his strength into captivity, and his glory into the enemy's hand. He also gave his people over to the sword, and was furious with his inheritance. The fire consumed their young men, and their maidens were not given in marriage. Their priests fell by the sword, and their widows made no lamentation. So, let's go back to 56 and start elaborating. 56, yet they tested and provoked the Most High God and did not keep his testimonies. And so that sends us to Judges 2:11 through 13. And what we know about Judges? Well, we know that it was next to Joshua. And Joshua said, as for me and my house, we would serve the Lord. And everybody said that they were going to agree with Joshua and serve the Lord too. But time we get in Judges, nobody knew the Lord. Okay, so now, because nobody continued to teach it to their children. So now, this is the judgment of God is described, looking at 11 and 12 and 13 in Judges chapter 2. Then the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord and served the Baals. And they forsook the Lord God of their fathers, who had brought them out of the land of Egypt, and they followed other gods from among the gods of the people who were all around them. And they bowed down to them, and they provoked the Lord to anger. They forsook the Lord and served Baal and the Ashtoreths, or the Canaanite goddesses. Now, this right here, and I'm going over on this one, all right? But this right here so mimics the African Americans, because remember, not the black people, different from African Americans. Because when the African Americans were enslaved, when they came to America, all right, they prayed and asked God for deliverance and everything like that. God sent them Sojourner Truth. He sent them Harriet Tubman. He sent them all kind of people, Abraham Lincoln, all these people. Okay, and then what happened is, time they got a taste of freedom, instead of continuing to serve the Lord, they turned and started serving all kind of other gods. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I was at a friend's house yesterday, and so or today or whatever, it's time moving. Okay, at a friend's house today, and so sure enough, they were watching the BET Awards. Okay, BET stands for Black Entertainment Television. Well, that should be called African American Entertainment Television. That's what it should be called, African American Entertainment Television, because that station right there has single-handedly destroyed the lives of the children that they so say trying to enlighten. Because in the African American race, you have a high number of children are born out of wedlock, high number of illegitimacy, which is the same thing, high number of low percentages of being married. Okay, instead of girls growing up saying, "I'm gonna get my education, I'm going to wait and pray for God to send me a husband. I'm not going to demean my body and let a man use me. I'm going to wait on God to send me my husband." But no, they go and lay and play with these guys, and the guys don't stay, but they left with a what? A baby. And that's all what they do. And you have black African American men blaming white people for their demise and for their destruction. Well, the white man is not telling the African American man to go lay up and make all these babies with these women and not even trying to marry one of them. Okay, the white man is not telling the black or the African American child or girl to go lay up with these black guys and have all these babies, or these African American guys and have all these babies from them. Clearly, just like the children of Israel, not appreciating and taking advantage of the blessings that God has given us as a race, and turned and became something else. You turned from the black race and became African Americans. And in the same way as the Israelites turned from being Israelites, turning and falling under God, and turned and followed some Canaanite goddesses. It's the same thing. What I'm reading here that happened thousands and thousands of years ago. It's the same thing that's happened to our black race. Turned from God and became African Americans, and they're buck wild today. Women, they have that nasty menage, they have that lizard wing. You have, teaching our children, how to have all them piercings, all that craziness looking, all them tattoos all over the place, having them looking like zombies, having the men run around here with don't know how to have a belt, know how to wear their pants and tighten up their belts. Totally have turned away from God, totally have turned away from the black race. And that's my rant, and I'll see you in the next segment.